Hey everyone, Sam here. Thanks for joining me. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are in the world. In this video, I'm going to show you how to create atmospheric perspective in your painting. Now, if you ever had difficulty trying to get your mountains or distant hills to look like they're in the distance, well, to be honest, I had this exact same problem a few years ago. I just couldn't get my distant mountains and hills to look like they're in the distance. Yet all it took in the end was a friend just to explain a couple of art theory tips to me, and suddenly I instantly got it. I was able to make my mountains look like they're in the distance. So in this video, I'm going to share with you a couple of tips so that you can create atmospheric perspective in your painting and make those landforms look like they're in the distance. So I hope you enjoy this video, get your paintbrushes ready and let's get into it. So before we get into the painting process in this video, I'm just going to quickly go over the location where the inspiration for this painting has come from. Now this is a place called the Rhys Valley and it's in southern New Zealand, and I think this is one of the most stunning views I've seen in New Zealand. I went painting here on plein air a few years ago with some artist friends who showed us this location. So I've been wanting to do a painting of this view for a while. Alright, so let's get into the painting. So here I'm painting on a 10" by 12" linen panel. The linen surface is oil primed, and I love painting on these because I just love the way the paint adheres to the surface. These panels are made by a company in the USA called canvaspanels.com. So I begin sketching out my composition, and what I'm using here is burnt sienna, and I've mixed it with Liquin Original. Now, as I'm using oil paint, Liquin is really useful because it improves the flow of the paint and it also speeds up the drying time. So this is great if you want to get a load of paintings done quickly. Now, although I'm painting this in oil, you could also paint this in acrylics as well, because the principles of atmospheric perspective, colours and value, it's all the same. I'll just go over the colours that I'm using, which includes titanium white, burnt sienna, yellow oxide, cadmium yellow, cadmium orange, quinacridone crimson, ultramarine blue and phthalo green. And the brushes I'm using include a number 5 and number 2 flat brush, a number 3 filbert brush and a number 1 and number 0 round brushes. So all up, I've kept my palette and my range of brushes simple. That's the way we like it here at Samuel Earp Artist. Keep it simple. So how can we create atmospheric perspective in our paintings, and what is it? Well, atmospheric perspective is creating the illusion of depth and recession in your landscape, so making those distant hills or mountains look like they're far away. And the way we can do this is by first of all paying attention to our values, which is how light or dark a subject is. So I start off with the shadows, and this is the easiest way to start creating that atmospheric depth in your painting. Now, as shadows are further away into the distance, they're going to get lighter. So the darks are not quite as dark, and the lights are often a little bit darker as you go into the distance. So this is because the value scale has narrowed, so the difference between lights and darks is a lot smaller than compared with the lights and darks in the foreground. Now in the foreground we will find our darkest darks and our lightest lights. So we need to keep this in mind when we're starting off our paintings. Now what I've done here is I've started off with the lightest of my shadows, which are the shadows in those distant mountains. And in New Zealand especially, those shadows have a blue cast to them. So what I've done here is I've mixed ultramarine blue with some burnt sienna. Then I've made the value lighter with some titanium white, and I've also mixed in some quinacridone crimson, which gives the shadows a violet tint. So those darkest shadows in the background are actually kind of more of a mid-tone and quite light. But as we come forward in the painting, those shadows are going to get darker. Next, I'm going to paint the darkest shadows, and part of the reason I'm starting off with the darkest shadows next is because I want to save on brush cleaning, and you'll see why in a sec. So the darkest shadows here are those tree shadows, and this is partly because trees are some of the darkest values to be found in the landscape. This is because the foliage is often naturally quite dark, especially in conifer trees, but also you get a lot of occlusion shadows as well. So I'm starting off with a mixture here of ultramarine blue with a little bit of yellow oxide, and there's also a little bit of burnt sienna in there. And the burnt sienna with the red element being opposite to green is just going to help harmonise that colour. But I want a nice dark green shadow here. Now next I'm going to work on the tree shadows in the midground, and because they're further away, those shadows are going to be getting a bit lighter, so I'm still using the same colours, but I've mixed in a bit of titanium white. So this not only helps to make the value a little lighter, but it also desaturates the colour as well. So this is another thing with atmospheric perspective. As the landforms recede into the distance, many of those colours also start dropping out, especially greens and yellows. Those colours just don't travel well over long distances. So this is where we also need to learn to desaturate our colours, making the chroma of the colour less intense, and chroma is how intense and vibrant the colour is. Now you can desaturate a colour by mixing two colour opposites together. So this is something to keep in mind if you want to create some low chroma colours which you would use in the distance. Next I'll paint the shadows on the beach areas along the side of the river. The shadow is being cast by the slopes on the right side of the painting. So the shadows in that beach area are going to be quite dark as well, and this is again a mix of ultramarine blue with some burnt sienna, a little bit of quinacridone crimson, but much less titanium white than what I used in the shadows in the background mountains. Now by using also these similar colours, it's going to create colour harmony within the painting, which means it's going to read better to the viewer. So I always try and use common colours throughout my paintings. Now another way you can improve the atmospheric depth within your paintings is by hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel for more videos. And don't forget to hit the notification bell as well. So now that we've got all our darks established, we can start adding some colour in the lighter areas, and having all those darks there is going to make it much easier to get the saturation of the colour correct and the values of the areas that are in light. I start back with the sky and then I begin working forward in the painting. Now I've kept the sky simple in this case. Normally I paint clouds, but in this case I felt like the painting didn't need it. Then once I've worked on that sky, I start painting in the areas of the mountain that are in full sunlight. Mountain slopes are not particularly high in chroma anyway, but also they're in the distance, so I'm going to create a desaturated low chroma colour using the same colours that I used in the shadows, but instead I've used much more titanium white in my mix and more burnt sienna. So it's got more of a greyish brown cast to it. But again, as I said just a moment ago, by using similar colours, it's going to make it look much more harmonious in the painting. As I work on the forests in those distant mountains, I'm still keeping the colour low in chroma by desaturating it. So I'm using a mix of ultramarine blue with some yellow oxide and some burnt sienna and titanium white. So I'm keeping the saturation of the colour low, and this is going to make it sit back in the landscape. As we work our way forward in the landscape, we can start turning up the volume of the colour, increasing the colour saturation until we're using our most saturated colours in the foreground. When it comes to painting the trees on the left side of the painting, I'm using a much more saturated green, and I've used the same colours as I used for the background trees, which is a mix of ultramarine blue, yellow oxide and a little bit of burnt sienna, but then I've introduced some cadmium yellow. And cadmium yellow is a very saturated yellow, so it increases the saturation of the colour. I can also add some other colours in like phthalo green, which really boosts the saturation of the colour, but you need to be careful not to use too much of it. And we also want to create some variation in some of those colours as well, just to keep it looking interesting. So I've also added other colours such as cadmium orange and of course titanium white to make sure that I get the value that I want. I don't always mix my colours in together thoroughly either, so that some of those individual hues come through. Now when it comes to painting the grass is a much lighter value colour than trees, so we need to keep this in mind, otherwise the grass is going to get lost in the trees. As I paint that distant grass, I've desaturated the green a bit by using more yellow oxide in my mix, which is a lower chroma colour. I've also used a little bit more titanium white as well. Once I'd established the main areas of colour in this painting, I then went back to restate the darks, especially those tree shadows in the foreground and midground. Now, having the presence of these shadows in your painting is going to help to create atmospheric depth, and it also helps to make your whole scene look much more realistic. I re-established those midground shadows on that headland on the right side of the painting, and then I add more shadows in the trees on the left side. As I work my way forward in the painting, I make the shadows a little bit darker. So it's around here that the blocking in stage of the painting is complete, and I've got a good foundation, so I'm going to let the painting dry and then I can start adding details to it. So the painting's dry and I've already got a good tonal dynamic already established. Got my darkest shadows in the foreground and then my lighter shadows in the distance, which is making those mountains look far away. And this is why I find it's easiest to establish your dark values first. I've got a good solid foundation here, so I can just add a few more details that's just going to really bring the painting together. So next I'm using a smaller number 2 flat brush and I start painting the suggestions of exposed rock faces on the mountain on the left. Now the colour here is quite light in value, but it's also low chroma as well. So I've mixed ultramarine blue with burnt sienna, some titanium white and a little bit of quinacridone crimson. And these are the same colours that I used for those distant mountains in the shadows and in the areas of the mountain faces that are in the full sunlight. So this is going to keep the colour harmony within the painting. I then start adding a few more layers to the trees on the left side of the painting on that mountain slope, and this is just going to help create some texture and interest within this forest. I've mostly used a mix of yellow oxide with ultramarine blue, then some cadmium yellow, and I've also mixed in a little bit of cadmium orange and phthalo green, and I adjust the value with titanium white. Now cadmium colours are generally much more saturated, but I can use more saturated colours here because we're much closer to the foreground. If I was to use these same colours in the background, then we'd lose the atmospheric depth altogether because the colours would just be too saturated and so they would jump forward in the painting. This painting is nearly finished and I'm just painting some highlights on the snowy mountains, but I still want that snow to sit back in the painting, so I'm not using pure titanium white from the tube. I'm mixing in a little bit of burnt sienna into it, which gives it a nice orange glow and also helps that snow to sit back. Now if you want to have a go at painting this yourself, then check out the blog post that I've written, which is on my website samuelearp.com, and I've got loads of free written painting tutorials that you can copy and follow along with. I've also got a full-length version of this video on my Patreon channel as well, and this is nearly an hour long where I show you the whole process, so we really dive into atmospheric perspective and the composition, the colours and values and mixing all those colours and the whole process in general. I've put the links in the description below. I finish up the painting by adding some more details to the river, which is one of the main features of this painting because it's implying rhythm within the composition as it leads the eye towards those distant mountains. Now the colours I use for the river are mainly a mix of ultramarine blue with a little yellow oxide, a little phthalo green and titanium white. Now if you want to see some more of my artworks, then you can check out my other website samuelearpfineart.com, and this is where I've got all my latest paintings. So if you want to have a look and get some inspiration, then check that out. Also, you might be an artist that's looking to making your own website where you want to showcase your art or perhaps sell some of your artworks online. If so, check out portfoliobox.net, which is an online website builder where you can create your own beautiful website to show off your art. And right now Portfolio Box are offering a 50% discount on any of their plans for the first year by typing in the discount code SAMEARP50. And I've put the link and the discount code in the description box below. The last thing I do to this painting is add some of those shrubs and grasses on the right corner, but other than that this painting is complete. I really enjoyed painting this artwork, and you'll see that I haven't gone into masses of detail, but the painting does look quite detailed even though I've maintained that loose painterly brushwork, which I personally think makes paintings look much more alive and vibrant. So I hope you enjoyed this video and that it inspires you to have a go at painting some mountain landscapes. As I said before, check the links in the description box below for more painting resources on my website samuelearp.com and my Patreon channel for more full-length painting tutorial videos like these. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, have a beautiful day, and I shall see you in the next video.